गोपी जनपाला गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनार्दन यशोदा नन्दन व्रज जनार्दन यमुनातीरावनचारि यमुनातीराचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनार्दन यशोदा नन्दन व्रज जनार्दन यमुनातीरावनचारि यमुनातीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय राधा राष्ट्र हरि राधा राष्ट्र हरि राधे जय गौरांगी बैंगलोरेश्वर गौरांगी जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रह्लाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल हरि नाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाकचार्य स्तोत्र शत His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Iskcon founder Acharya, BBD founder Acharya, Savior of the whole universe, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शत His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ छठ गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन गिरिराज महाराज की जय। मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय, मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय, श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, द्वारिका धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, कावेरी माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories and glories and glories and glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतं सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलङ्गायतें क्रीं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओम् तत्सत्। Hi Krishna. So we will continue our conversation, our discussion from Granth Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from Canto 4, Chapter 4, and the text for today is going to be 16. Allow me to share my screen. किं वा शिवाख्यम् अविशदा विश्वुपाधन्ये ब्रह्माद्यस्यातम अवक्रिया जता श्मशाने तन्मलया भस्मानृप्याकले अवसत्पिशाचे ये मूढादवैर्ददाति तक् चरणारवस्तनम् किं वा शिवाख्यम् अविश्वम्ना विदुत्वदन्ये ब्रह्मण्डास्यातम् अविक्रिया जता श्मशाने तन्मलय भस्मानृप्याकलया अस्मत्पिशाचे ये मूढा तभिर्ददाति तच्चक्षुः तत् शरणारवर्षतम् किं वा शिवाख्यम् अविश्रम्ना विदुस्त्वन्ये ब्रह्मादयास्तम् अवक्रिया जटा श्मशाने तन्मलय भस्मानृपिक्कली अस्मत्पिशाचे ये मूर्धाभिर्ददाति च चरणावस्पृतम्. Word translation. Kimva Vetat Shiva Akyam Yen Shiva Ativan inauspicious. Na Vidu do not know. Tvad Anye other than you. Brahma Adaya Brahma and others. Tam him, Lord Shiva. Avakriya scattered Jata having twisted hair. Smashane in the crematorium. Tatmalaya Bhasma Nripakapali, who is garlanded with human skulls and smeared with ashes. Avasad associated. Pishachi with demons. Ye who Murdabhi with the head. Dadati place. Tatcharnara avashratam fallen from his lotus feet. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Do you think that greater, more respectable personality than you, such as Lord Brahma, do not know this inauspicious person who goes under the name Lord Shiva? He associates with the demons in the crematorium. His locks of hairs are scattered all over the body, and he is garlanded with the human skulls and smeared with ashes from the crematorium. But in spite of all these inauspicious qualities, great personalities like Brahma honor him by accepting the flowers offered to his lotus feet and placing them with great respect on their heads. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Purport. It is useless to condemn a great personality like Lord Shiva, and this is being stated by his wife Sati. To establish the supremacy of her husband, first, she said, we call Lord Shiva inauspicious because he associates with demons in crematorium, covers his body with ashes of dead, and garlands himself with the skulls of human beings. You have shown so many defects, but you do not know that his position is always transcendental. Although he appears inauspicious, why do personalities like Brahma respect the dust of his lotus feet and place their heads with great respect those very garlands which are condemned by you? Since Sati was a chaste woman and wife of Lord Shiva, it was her duty to establish the elevated position of Lord Shiva, not only by sentiments, but with facts. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity. This is the conclusion of Vedic scriptures. He is neither on the level of supreme personality of Godhead, nor on the level of ordinary living entities. Brahma is in almost all cases an ordinary living entity. Sometimes when there is no ordinary living entity available, the post of the Brahma is occupied by an expansion of Lord Vishnu. But generally, this post is occupied by a greatly pious living entity within this universe. Thus, Lord Shiva's position is constitutionally higher than that of Lord Brahma. Although Lord Shiva appeared as the son of Brahma, he is mentioned that even personalities like Brahma accept the so-called inauspicious flowers and the dust of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. Great sages like Marichi, Atri, Bhrigu, and the others among the 9 great sages who are descendants of Brahma also respect Lord Shiva in such a way because they all know that Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity. In many Puranas, it is sometimes asserted that the demigods is elevated to such a high position that he is almost on an equal level with Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the conclusion that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead is confirmed in every scripture. Lord Shiva is described in the Brahma Samhita like a curd or yogurt. Curd is non-different from milk since milk is transformed into curd. In one sense, curd is also milk. Similarly, Lord Shiva is in one sense the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in another sense, he is not. Just as curd is milk, although we have to distinguish between the two. These descriptions are in Vedic literature. Whenever we find that the demigod occupies a position apparently more elevated than that of Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is just to draw the devotee's attention to that particular demigod. It is also stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.25 that if one wants to worship a particular demigod, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is sitting in everyone's heart, gives one greater and greater attachment for the demigod so that one may be elevated to demigod's abode. Yanti Deva Vrita Devan. By worshipping demigods, one can elevate himself to the abodes of the demigod. Similarly, by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can be elevated to the spiritual kingdom. This is stated in different places in Vedic literature. Here, Lord Shiva is praised by Sati partially due to her personal respect for Lord Shiva, and since he is her husband, and partially due to his exalted position, which exceeds that of an ordinary living entity, even Lord Brahma. The position of Lord Shiva is accepted by Lord Brahma, so Daksha, Sati's father, should also recognize him. That was the point of Sati's statement. She did not actually come to her father's house to participate in the function. Although before coming, she pleaded with her husband that she wanted to see her sisters and her mother. That was a plea only, for actually at heart, she maintained the idea that she would convince her father Daksha that it was useless to continue being envious of Krishna, envious of Lord Shiva. That was her main purpose. When she was unable to convince her father, she gave up the body he had given her, as we will see in the following verses. Om Tat Sat. That ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4, and the verse number is 16. Om Tat Sat. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Radhgunatam Vitam Tam Saji Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So we welcome you all to this morning discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, continuing our reading. And these readings are particularly very important for devotees. And we have to also understand that demigods are important for us, but then they are not everything. So one should really be very careful in worshipping the demigods, at the same time not insult them, because they can offer you wonderful boons. At the same time, they don't offer you Krishna Bhakti. Though they are great devotees, Vaishnavanam Yatashambhu, that's what we call Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And with this background, Vishnu or Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is on the highest level. All the other departmental heads are the demigods and they need to be worshipped, given respect. I remember having this conversation. What to talk about demigods? We should even respect the ant, the smallest ant that is seen. So we should, as devotees, this is a very important quality of a devotee, that we should respect everything and everybody. So we should not disrespect or disregard anybody in our life. We may think that they are small, but they are not. Here the example is very clearly shown of Daksha. Daksha is the creator, Prajapati. He is the one who is the leader of the Praja. But still, he did not have the very simple understanding that Lord Shiva is a great personality. And this personality should not be insulted or demeaned. In the previous time, there was this incident where Lord Shiva was actually meditating on Lord Vishnu, on Krishna, while Daksha entered the arena where all the devotees were waiting, or all the demigods and the rishis and all were waiting. And Daksha felt offended, saying that Shiva did not offer no obeisances because it was on the bodily platform. And Daksha felt that because Shiva is my son-in-law, it becomes his responsibility or his duty to offer his obeisances. But on the contrary, if you see, Shiva was actually meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna. So while he was meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he did not notice Daksha entering, and he did not offer his obeisances. So here Daksha feels offended, and then there's a fight between the armies of Daksha and the followers. Fight in the sense of words of war. You know, many times we see that you don't need a physical fight, but your war of words itself can cause so much damage that which is irreparable. So there is Nandishvara who blasphemes Daksha, and a lot of things happen. And Lord Shiva, as a great devotee, this is again a learning from Lord Shiva that we should just leave the place where the environment is not very conducive. So Lord Shiva actually leaves that arena and just goes away without speaking anything, without making any comments, or without even trying to, speak anything to Daksha. He quietly leaves the place. So that's a quality which all of us should really imbibe, saying that if the situation is not very favorable, one should leave that arena very, very quietly. Now, as you see in today's verse, this is the second time. So continuation of where I was saying that, Lord Shiva leaves that place. This is the second time that Daksha is actually celebrating the yagna. And this time, because of his previous experience or because of his previous fight or animosity towards Lord Shiva, he does not invite Shiva as well as his daughter. He doesn't send invitation, a formal invitation, inviting the son-in-law and the daughter to come and attend this yagya. But as we all know, mothers, ladies are very, very emotional. And Sati, who was very emotional at that time, goes to Lord Shiva and requests him, saying that if you desire so, she's very, so are all the Matajis, they're very smart. But they want to put it on Prabhus to say, you take a decision and I'll follow it. But then there is something in their heart which they want to actually make it happen. But then they say, no, if you desire so, we can do that. So here, Mother Sati tells Lord Shiva in the previous verses, saying that if you desire so, my father is conducting a very big yagna. If you desire so, we can go there. And I will be happy to see my sisters and my mother. Yeah. And that's just a reason, actually. In this verse, it is clarified, saying that it is not because of the emotions that Sati is asking this to be done. It is for the reason that Sati wanted to prove, or Sati wanted to bring it to everybody's notice, the exalted nature of Lord Shiva. And that's why she actually intends to, attend this yagya. Let me just read this for the benefit of all of us. Says at the end of the purport, the position of Lord Shiva is accepted by Lord Brahma. So Daksha, Sati's father, should also recognize him. This is the point of Sati's statement. She did not actually come to her father's house to participate in the function. Although before coming, she pleaded with her husband that she wanted to see her sisters and mother. Very clearly, the mother's Sati comes with a cause here. She is very clearly talking about it, saying that she wanted her father Daksha to know the exalted position of Lord Shiva and recognize him, because Lord Brahma also recognizes Lord Shiva. Yeah. So this was only a plea for actually her heart. She maintained the idea that she should convince her father Daksha that it was useless to continue being envious of Lord Shiva. That was her main purpose. Okay. And in the purport itself, very nicely, Srila Prabhupada has described that Lord Shiva, he's actually comparing this with the verse of Brahma Samhita, Dadanti. So he compares this, saying that Shiva is like a curd or yogurt. Curd is not different from milk. Milk is Lord Vishnu himself. But curd is a product of milk. Milk is transformed into curd. And in one sense, curd is also milk. So Lord Shiva similarly is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in another sense, he is not. Okay. You see Srila Prabhupada describing it so nicely. It says, Lord Shiva, in one sense, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in another sense, he is not. Just as curd is milk, although we have to distinguish between the two, the descriptions in the Vedic literature also confirm this. Whenever we find that the demigod occupies a position apparently more elevated than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is just to draw the devotee's attention to that particular demigod. Yeah. So this is one point that Srila Prabhupada makes it very clear, saying that Lord Shiva is an exalted devotee. And as we move further, Mother Sati describes this very nicely, saying that even Brahma is not averse to taking the flower from the lotus feet of Lord Shiva and put it on his head. Somebody may get a little confused, saying that Lord Shiva is Brahma's son. In the Shastras, it is described he is Brahma's son. But then, how is that the father is keeping the flowers from the lotus feet of Lord Shiva is supposed to be his son on his head? Well, this needs to be understood, saying that it is not because of the position, but because of the exalted nature of that person that Lord Brahma is doing so. And the starting of the purport, Srila Prabhupada also talks about the outwardly look of Lord Shiva. We all have seen the pictures of Lord Shiva in some of the places where Lord Shiva is adorned with a necklace of skulls. He's also applying bhasma on his body. And, he doesn't have the upper cloth. And he wears his skin of an animal on his body. This is on some side. He also has a big jata, long hair, matted hair, and then he also has the snake around his neck. Now, this is the outwardly description of Lord Shiva. Yeah. And Mother Sati says, you call Lord Shiva inauspicious because he associates with demons in the crematorium, covers his body with ashes of the dead, and garlands himself with skull of human beings. You have shown so many defects, but you do not know the position is always transcendental. It is not the outwardly nature of a person that one needs to go upon. It should be the inward devotee nature of a person that one should really take the inspiration from. So here, Lord Shiva is the greatest of the devotee. Why does he actually put on this outwardly look like this? Because he's wearing the skulls and he's also putting the ash on his body, the bhasma. But he does this because he's a friend of everybody and he wants everybody to be liberated. And when one wants to liberate somebody else, he needs to come down to his level. If not mentally, at least physically. When you find a person wearing pant and shirt, you would like to associate with him. But when you see a sadhu with, the sadhu clothes, you will probably want to stay away from him. So in that, though it's not a very straightforward example, but it's a very good example that I'm giving, that the outwardly look of a person is important. And that is why Sri Prabhupada, said that we should be how the place is requiring us to be. So Sri Prabhupada had a very qualified disciple called Dr. T.D. Singh. He's a sannyasi. Maharaj is not in his physical form at this point of time. But Sri Prabhupada would encourage Maharaj to attend all the scientific conferences. He was a scientist by nature. And his name was Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. And Sri Prabhupada would request Maharaj to attend all the scientific conferences. And he would actually adorn himself with a suit and boot and all that, with a nice tie, and go and attend the conferences and give out the Vedic perspective of science. And Srila Prabhupada would encourage Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj to attend all the seminars in this way, so that, coming from that background of scientific, would recognize themselves with Maharaj and look at the qualities of Maharaj and start following. So that was the most important part of the outwardly look. One did not go with the outwardly look of a devotee. We should see the heart of the devotee. We should see how dedicated he is to Srila Prabhupada, how dedicated he is to the service of, the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's the way that one needs to really look around it. So here, Mother Sati is talking about Lord Shiva, saying that don't go by his outwardly look. Look at what he can do. Why is he doing that? He is doing it basically because he wants to liberate the Chandalas, he wants to liberate the Pishachis, he wants to liberate the very, very fallen souls. And Shiva, if we take, he's Ashutosh, he can be pleased very, very easily. With smallest of the service, he can please Shiva. And he can even give Vara. But at the same time, Lord Shiva can also give bhakti. So we need to choose between, do we want something very temporary or do we want something very permanent? It's the same personality. Lord Shiva can give us some boon which is material. At the same time, Lord Shiva can also give us a spiritual boon of becoming Krishna Bhakta. So devotee should distinguish between saying that I have got this. It's like, you have a road which is going, and it can take you to, with that deviation that happens, it can take you to two locations. Now you have to decide on which location you want to go. So for devotees, it is very important that, we take the path of spiritual knowledge, which takes us to the ultimate goal of attaining Krishna Prema, and avoid the other path, because we know if we go there, yes, you will have some pleasures of life for some time, but then you will have to again come back life after life, death, birth, birth, death, birth. All that keeps happening. We are rotating in the material world, but there's no permanent peace or there's no permanent satisfaction in it. Yeah. So this is how it is done. Now let's discuss more on, how what is the unique position of Shiva or Shiva Tattva. He is not a human, he is not God. Okay. So now Lord Shiva has eternal position, and his eternal position is as Sadashiva. We've all heard. When he comes to the material world, he helps in creating the material world. He helps Lord Vishnu to actually create the material world. And his origin is Lord Brahma, as we discussed earlier. He accepts only the position of Lord Brahma just for the sake, yeah. And he accepts very humble position of serving, and the position is very, very unique. And he looks at, how it is described in the verse. He's also assisting Mahavishnu in creating this world, as you said. And when we say Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, he accepts to be in charge of the mode of ignorance. This is very important. Despite being a devotee, he accepts himself to be in charge of mode of ignorance. He is not in mode of ignorance. This is a very fine line that defines Lord Shiva. He is not in the mode of ignorance, but he accepts to be in charge of mode of ignorance, and he delivers the fallen soul. The quality of Shiva, this quality of Shiva is very, very dear to the Lord, as he is helping in uplifting the fallen children of the Lord. Yeah. So if one helps somebody else to uplift his children, this person will be very dear to the Father. So that is the reason Lord Shiva is very, very, very dear to Lord Vishnu. Yeah, if Indra comes, nobody from the lower world will associate with him. But when Lord Shiva comes, all the guys who are coming. So the example is given here that if Indra comes, with his say the unique look of being the king, and nobody will desire to come closer to him. They will not actually associate with him because they don't recognize with him. And that is the only reason that Lord Shiva comes in this form of applying the ashes, matted hairs, and uh, just the upper cloth is not there, the Angavastra is not there. He is with the skin of a dead animal and all of that, because people would not like to go to Indra when he comes, as a king. So Lord Shiva is very, very approachable. Yeah, this is another quality of Lord Shiva, that anybody can approach him. And that is the reason he actually comes in that clothing also. And Srila Prabhupada is also following the footsteps of the Mahajanas, keeping in mind the compassion that he had for the fallen souls. He went to the West taking all the inconvenience just to preach or to deliver to the people of the West. How is Lord Shiva taking all the inconvenience? Lord Shiva could also be sitting on his Kailasha mountain and happily, enjoying his presence with Mother Sati there, Mother Parvati there. But why does he really come down to the level of, staying in association of the Chandalas and the Pishaches and all that? Because he wants to elevate. And similarly, the example of Srila Prabhupada is seen here because he is also following the footsteps of Mahajana. Lord Shiva is a Mahajana, all of us know. Yeah. So he is also following the footsteps of the Mahajana. Now, there's another story, very small story, which I would like to, narrate about Kashyapa Muni and Diti in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, Diti approaches Kashyapa Muni at a Sandhya time. Sandhya time is not a good time for union, but uh, she approaches and uh, asks for union with Kashyapa Muni. And all those who associate or who actually unite during the Sandhya time, their children will not be good children. And at that time, Diti is praying to Lord Shiva, who is going around looking for the appropriate womb. And at this time, because Diti is praying to Lord Shiva, he gives the demons in her womb. So one should also be very careful that Lord Shiva is like Ashutosh, he gives whatever you want and whoever is asking, he is very good. But then you should only ask him Krishna Prema or Krishna Bhakti and not anything else. See again, examples from Srimad Bhagavatam, we talk about the demon Mayadev. Maya Danav. Maya Danav was a yogi of a lot of siddhis, and he attacked the demigods and defeated all the demigods. This Maya Danav had the boon that he had a well where he had nectar. So the moment the demigod is killed by, the demon is killed by the demigod, he would put the demon into that well, and the demon would come back to life because of the nectar which is there. And so, in Mayadanav also had three cities which would actually fly in the air. And when they're flying in the air, sometimes they can even actually cannot be seen. Ojal, we call it in Hindi. And that is why it is called as Tripura. And Lord Vishnu sent them to Shiva. Shiva tells Parvati that he had to help the demigods. And with this trident, he actually destroys all the three cities. And that's where Lord Shiva gets the name of Tripurari, because he was a destroyer of all the three cities of Mayadana, which were flying in the air and which would actually disappear sometimes and appear sometimes. So he's also helping all the demigods in all the ways. And another quality of Lord Shiva is he is Paradukha Dukhi. When we all have heard about this story, but for the benefit of all of us, including myself, that I would like to narrate the story of churning of the milk ocean. Mandara mountain comes in help there. So the Lord actually says that Mandara mountain should come into the sea, and all the demigods try to lift Mandara mountain, but it's very heavy, but still somehow they try and get it, but it gets sunken into the ocean. But then Lord himself comes, Lord Vishnu comes in the form of a tortoise, Kurma, and he gives support to that Mandara mountain. And Mandara mountain is so heavy because it is full of gold and all the good things. While this is happening, Vasuki offers himself to be, put around Mandara mountain and to churn the sea. And when you churn the ocean, there will be a lot of things which will come out, so which was born. That whatever comes out of that, we'll have to take. So here there is Visha, there is poison which is actually coming out of the Mandara mountain. And Lord Shiva is approached to drink the poison. He comes and Lord Shiva saves the whole universe. Actually, he drinks the poison, and that's why it is, you see on the neck of Lord Shiva, you will see a blue color because of the poison. If anybody is stung by a poisonous snake, that area becomes blue. Likewise, because Lord Shiva is helping the universe, helping demigods to, absorb that poison, he drinks it and it is in his throat, and that's why he's called Neelakanta. Now, there are many times that people say they imitate Lord Shiva, saying that, no, they also wear dresses like Lord Shiva, they smoke ganja, they drink all kinds of things and all that, and they, apply ashes to their body. But one should ask them, if you are really like Lord Shiva, or if you are Lord Shiva, why don't you drink some poison? And if they drink poison, if they still survive, yeah, then they are really Lord Shiva. Otherwise, one should not imitate Lord Shiva. So, Sri Prabhupada says that when we see devotees, they should not imitate Lord Shiva, but they should follow the footsteps of Lord Shiva. So, Lord Shiva is actually liberating all the fallen souls. So, we should also follow the footsteps of Lord Shiva rather than imitating him. So, Srila Prabhupada also repudiates this claim of Krishna's activities of Rasa Leela and Govardhana Hin and all that, because people many times say, okay, the young girls, please come to me, I will dress like Krishna, you will come into Radha Bhav and all that nonsense it is. So Srila Prabhupada repudiates this by saying that, okay, if you want to come into Krishna Bhava, or if you are Krishna, then why don't you lift the Govardhana hill on your left little finger? Forget about lifting a Govardhana hill. Can you at least lift one small 1 kg ka brick? It is not possible. So we should not imitate, but we should follow the footsteps of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and reach them. So Lord Shiva is always acting out of compassion, and the Lord always wants to glorify his devotees, and the devotees always want to glorify the Lord. So it's an exchange of love which is happening between the devotee and the Lord, which continues eternally. The devotees always glorify the Lord. The Lord always glorifies the devotees. So that's the understanding from this verse, and I would like to stop here. In case if there are any questions, we can discuss. And if there are any comments, please go ahead and make the comments. Or if there are any corrections, please let me know. I'll be happy to accept them. Hare Krishna Mataji, Sumati Mataji. So if there are no questions, then we will just do a recap of the whole session, and then we will close the session. This verse where Mother Sati, that is how we started the conversation today. Mother Sati is actually glorifying Lord Shiva, and she's actually repudiating the claim of her father. And right at the beginning of the purport, it is said that you should not condemn the great personality like Lord Shiva. And Sati here is actually establishing the supremacy of her husband. She says that, my father feels that he is inauspicious because he is associating with demons, but he is actually doing that because he wants to liberate them. And because Sati is a very chaste wife, she is glorifying the Lord. And Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity. And this is also the conclusion of the Vedic scriptures that we see. And in further, it is also given the example saying that Lord Brahma accepts himself the flowers offered to Lord Shiva and puts it on his head, so that establishes the greatness of Lord Shiva. And in Puranas also, the demigods, is in elevated position. Is almost equal to Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in conclusion, Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We also saw the example of yogurt and milk. Lord Vishnu is milk, and Lord Shiva, because he's a part and parcel of Krishna, he is also yogurt, and yogurt also comes from milk. So that was very clearly and nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada. And because the position of Lord Shiva is also accepted by Brahma, Daksha also should accept his position, and he should also recognize him. And this was the point that Sati wanted to make all through this. And Sati had actually come to the arena not just to see her mother and sister, but her main intent there was to re-establish the supremacy of Lord Shiva over Daksha. So Daksha should know that Lord Shiva is a great personality, and that was the whole intent that Sati had come here. We will end our session here. In case if anybody has any other question, I would like to take it. Otherwise, we will, end the session here today. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premande, Hari Hari Bol. Can I take the session as concluded? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna.